me know why you're here, what it is that you want to learn or hear about. We're talking about failure today. Isn't that fun? And I see some new faces. Welcome, welcome, everybody. People will continue to come on as we are in the middle of the day. All right, and also this is being recorded, so if you are taking notes or you miss something, because sometimes I talk too fast, then you can see it later as you would like. So, yay, so good to be here today. I agree with you. All right, so lessons from failure. I want you to write in the chat, why do you think we cringe when we think about failure? What is it that's happening? Super excited to be here. Yes. Good. Hi, Chantal. All right. So why do you guys feel like we have such a bad relationship with failure? Yeah, that's right. We feel like we did something wrong. And no one wants to feel like they did something wrong, right? We're taught that failure is bad, right? It's something to avoid. Like people are even trying to avoid failing at all costs, right? Failure or thinking of past failure is uncomfortable. Yep. And we are creatures of comfort, right? It is more comfortable, or it is easier to sit in front of your television and watch it, right? It's harder to get up and go work out. It is easier to eat foods that might not nourish your body. Might be harder to cook everything that you want or be very diligent with what you put into your body. So for sure, we want to do, for the most part, what seems to be easier or more comfortable. Okay, and similar to what Deb said, when you feel like you fail the task, most of the time when we're children, we were taught that, it means you're bad or you're a bad person, right? So today we want to reframe how we think about failure. And one thing to remember is a lot of us, we heard you did something bad, but what we interpreted that to mean is I'm bad, right? When our parents were like, oh, you did this, you did that, that was bad, they may have been talking about our behavior or a choice we made, but we internalized it to mean I'm not a good person, I'm not good enough, right? And that's why failure is so painful, because it brings you back to all the times where you didn't think something was good enough, because we were always taught that we don't fail. So today we're going to shift that thinking, and we're going to reframe failure into a learning opportunity, right? And we're going to actually embrace failure, because that's how we move forward, right? Whether you succeed at something or you learn from something, both are going to help you get to the next level of your evolution, the next level of the next version that you want to be. That's the important thing to remember. So if you see it as a failure, it's a failure. If you see it as a lesson, then you're still evolving into the next version of yourself. You're just learning from it, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is something called the law of rhythm. So there are some natural laws like gravity, that guide the way that the universe or Earth or whatever you want to call it was created. And one of them is the law of rhythm. And that just says everything has a cycle and a rhythm to it. We're very aware of that in terms of the cycle of the seasons, right? The cycle of a plant, even the human life cycle, right? The life cycle of all the animals, like even your period, even labor contractions, like microwave frequencies, the tides of the oceans, the sun, the moon, all of it has a cycle, right? And our emotions, they cycle as well. Life cycles, right? Life isn't just one trajectory that goes straight up. It cycles round and round. Okay, so the law of rhythm states that everything is in a cycle. It actually takes the shape, if you go back to high school math, of a sine wave. So yeah, I don't know if I can draw it like, there we go. Like that. Okay, and so what happens is that we were taught that you only want to be at the top, We don't want to be at the bottom, right? So we resist the sine wave that is the natural rhythm of life, right? We don't like it when people come in and out of our lives, even though it's a cycle, right? We resist the lows because we're taught avoid the lows, right? But they have to be there because it's part of the cycle. So in resisting the lows, we're actually going against nature, right? In the moment that you resist the lows, you're actually saying to the universe, I don't like it. I don't want to do this. I want it done my way, as opposed to nature's way, or the universe, whatever you want to call it. Universe, God, spirit, nature, use whatever term connects with you the best. Consciousness, okay? So if we're resisting part of the cycle, can you see why there's so much suffering in it? Right? Suffering happens in resistance when you cut yourself off from the natural order of life. And so if life is a series of sine waves and we're cutting ourselves off of the low, then we're not fully experiencing all that life has to offer, right? So I want to ask you all a question, and you can type your answer in the chat. How do you feel in the low points? Like, what does it feel like there? Stuck. Yep, for sure. That's a good one. What else? How does it make you feel when you're in a low? What does your body do? Could feel like someone's doing something wrong, maybe. What emotions might you experience in the low? Good. Sad, right? Maybe loneliness. Some people may experience helpless, right? Lost, confused, detached, failure. Yep, all good. All discouraged, desperate, right? Like, why is this happening to me? Or why has this always happened to me? If you want to add even more to suffering, you go, why is this always happening to me? If you put the always in there, you can even like dig the suffering in even more. Just a joke. But just looking at some of these, unsettling. Yep. Alone. Good. Yeah, sounds like everyone has experienced the lows before. When you don't want to experience the lows, it's like being on a beach and the tide coming in and out, and you're like, no, thank you. I don't want the tide to come in. We don't do that. We say, goodbye, beach, right? I don't want to deal with this tide coming in. It's easier to trust in the universe, the God, spirit, whatever, is that things are going well, or that you have trust when you're at the top, right? Oh yeah, everything worked out. So of course I believe it, you know? And then when you're at the low, then people are like, well, I don't know if I trust anymore, right? I don't know if this is for me, right? That's not trust, right? Trust isn't half trust. I only trust at the top and not at the bottom, right? So trust is that everything in my life is a cycle. And I know there will be an up, and I know there will be a down, and I know there'll be an up again, and I know there'll be a down again, right? So that's what we want to remember, is that failure is the part of success. You need both of them, right? So your expectation of only wanting things to be at the top is actually going against nature, right? And so when we're in the low, we tend to label some of the emotions as low, right? We talked about them. We're sad, we're exhausted, we're guilty, shame, doubt, angry, something's wrong, right? We're in acute pain. Those are the lows. And then when we're in the high, we also have labels, right? We're excited, we're proud, we are unstoppable, we're grateful, we're passionate, energized, you know, we're celebrating, right? So the reframe is that the lows complete the highs, okay? you're not going to have the high without the low, because it's a cycle. It's a full circle, right? The high and the low. So the highs are not better than the lows. That's what we were taught. We were taught that the highs are better than the lows, but they're not. They are, we just perceive them to be. It's our own perception. The highs are not better than the lows. We just perceive them to be. Okay? That's what we're taught. We feel like the highs are better, but they are both equally powerful. That is the reframe, is that they are both equally powerful. Like, look at the artists when they sing, like Adele. She went through the horrible breakup, and that's where she wrote some of her greatest songs. We listen to Adele because we can feel how she's feeling through her music, right? We feel every part of her lows, right? I'm in Ottawa, as most of you may or may not know, but if you're here, there's Blues Fest going on. The Foo Fighters are coming next week. My husband's going to that. And anyways, one of the Foo Fighters passed away, and they spent a whole year writing about that, like about all the emotions, everything that they were feeling and experiencing as a band. They wrote it all out, and that released this album that they're playing at Blues Fest. Anyway, so the artists tap into this, right? You connect with their music, you cry with them when they're singing, the feelings of the low, right? So creativity and intelligence comes in here. When you're in the low, you get an aspect, you can tap into creativity that you can't when you're in the highs, right? Think about the last time you were really down, the last time you were in the really low, something was going on. What insights did you get there, right? In your darkness, the universe gives you different nudges, right? And the idea is to pay attention while you're there, right? In that moment of pain, when it hurts so much, that's when life steps in, and that's when intelligence comes through to you, right? So I want you to think about the last time you were in a low. Like, either you were in pain, or you're still in pain, or you had a relationship that broke up, or you lost someone that was important to you. When you were in the lows, what lesson did you learn from there? And go ahead and type it out. What lessons did you learn from your last lows? Right? Gonna keep going with a couple things while people write it down, because in the breakthrough, it's in the breakdown, that's where the breakthrough emerges, right? So without that low there, you don't learn that lesson, right? You're missing the guidance or the intelligence that comes from being so down and so low, right? Things are only painful in the moment because we're giving it the wrong meaning, right? But the lesson is, you don't even get to experience the highs if you never really experience the lows, right? Let's see what some people, you learned that it's okay. Yeah. You saw that changes were needed. Yes, that stress will pass. You can have joy with trauma. Yes, you are joy. Beautiful. How you didn't really listen to yourself. Yes, that is painful, but also insightful to bring about change, right? And so, but we're taught, again, we don't want to feel the lows, right? And so if you never really feel the highs and you never feel the lows, you cut off the top parts and the bottom parts of the experience, right? If you cut off enough of it, what happens? You go flatline. And what happens in flatline? Well, in medicine, it means you're dead, okay? You wrote a couple songs, beautiful songs. Yes, the lows are so great. It's such a great time for songwriting and to get all of that out into there, right? Look at some of the top hits and you'll be like, wow, everyone's writing from pain, right? Of course, there's some that are at the highs, but the ones that people really, really resonate with on an emotional level is because you go, I know what that feels like, right? And they are able to experience it. And for the artists who are writing, or even, it could be through drama, right? Or movies, or whatever the case, medium that you want to use, there is power and creativity that comes from that. Right? So again, we don't want to cut out the highs and the lows, because then we're flatline and then we're dead, and that's not very fun. Okay. So the reason you have one is because you have the other. It's completely different from what we were taught. We were taught no thank you, no lows, low means failure, all these bad things happen, right? But the reality is we need both. You're equally potent at the high and the low, okay? And when you're potent, that means that you can manifest too, right? Because manifestation comes from feeling deeply, right? So don't try and flatline your emotions. We're always trying to feel the emotions. We always say here, you have to feel them to heal them. Yes, it's a good time to get a good emotional release and to get a cry. So much is released in a cry. Okay? So when we try and neutralize our emotions, what happens, first of all, is that they get stored in the body and in the nervous system, which after years and years of it, can lead to dis-ease and then eventually disease. Okay? And also, you neutralize the potency that you have to manifest when you try and get rid of the highs and the lows. You become no potent. Right? So what if you stop pretending everything was okay? What if you just said, I'm in a low, or I'm not doing well, or I'm not in a high? What would happen? What if you looked at your life and said, you know what? I'm really not fine here or in this area or that area, but I'm open to seeing what could occur. Right? The breakthrough would occur. That's what you get. You get a breakthrough. Right? And a breakthrough occurs when you learn the lesson of the low. So you're in your low and you get your intelligence, you get your creativity, whatever it was that you had, and then you transcend it to the high. The high part of the sine wave is for celebration, right? You're like, yes, I did it. I'm happy. I reached my goal. Like, this doesn't hurt me. Whatever it is at the high, that's when we celebrate. That's not when the lessons are learned. Okay. So even when people reach their goals, they're going after a goal, going after a goal, and then they get to their goal, they celebrate, and then they're like, oh, what's next? Another goal, right? But it's not where we learn the lessons from. And that's why it's so important that you're looking at failure, and not as failure, but as a lesson, as a learning. Because then there is actually no such thing as failure. It's just part of the cycle. And you can go, oh, look, I'm at the low. Great. I'm going to make the breakthrough and transcend it to the high. And that's how you get an even more powerful high. And so once you get this in your nervous system, so today we're talking about it intellectually, but once you get it in your nervous system, it may sound bad, but you look forward to the lows because you're like, I'm going to get such an amazing, like, I know something is coming. I know that there is a lesson in here. And once I get that lesson, that's going to take me to the next evolution of who I want to be. And yes, you're right. Melissa says when she accepts her low or high, it gives her strength. You get power in accepting where you are right now in the moment, because you're bringing it back to yourself. Okay. And you learn that it is you that has the power and that you've always had it all along. Okay. So once you learn the lessons, you're no longer a victim, right? You're in the breakthrough. So I want you to look back at the last time, again, using the same example you used, right? From before. What other lessons did you learn from your last failure? What else is there? What did you learn from your last lessons? Is there another layer that you can go to? Another depth? So every time we go back to the same question, we want to ask for more depth, because failure allows you to see personal areas of growth, right? And even if you look at something like a sport and you failed at, shooting the goal through the whatever, then what do you learn? Another way to do it, or how to do it better, or to change the way that you do it. You come back stronger, right? It's a resilience building. Good. Feel them, and when the wisdom comes, yes. Normalize the full spectrum, of course. Your body is resilient. I don't think we were ever taught how truly resilient people are, right? And oftentimes when we have a trauma or something happens to us, we focus on what happened to us, but we don't look at the fact that we made it through that, right? We're like, oh, this happened, that happened. But there's a lot of power in the fact that, yes, this happened, and you're still here. You made it through that. You are resilient. You build resilience. When we say we want to build, let's say, quote unquote, a perfect person, actually, we'll look at it as like a video game, because that's easier. If you want to build the perfect character in a video game, you'd want them to be, let's say, patient. You want them to be strong. You might want them to have some compassion. This is not a killing game. It's a fun game, right? Character that we want to build. Okay, so in order to learn patience, what do we need to learn it? We have to wait, right? If you have to wait over and over and over again, then you get patience, right? If you want someone who's strong, what do you have to do to get strong? You've got to build all the muscles. You need to, like, if you want to be a strong swimmer, you have to put in the time in the gym, right? To, let's say, physically build your body, right? If you want someone who's mentally resilient, then you put them through this character, all the things that would make them a resilient person, right? So in order to build the character traits that most people desire or want, they have to go through, quote unquote, all the crap in order to get it, right? You only get the patient person because they've waited so long. If you're getting everything right away and, very easily, you're not building patience there, right? It's said that one of the best things that you can teach your children are delayed gratification, right? Is the skill of delayed gratification, because over a long time horizon, it's easier to win than over short periods of time. All right, so let's see what other people wrote before I went on a tangent of resilience. But just think of it next time. If you think about the trait that you want, if you want to build courage, then you have to put someone in a position where they're constantly having to overcome courage. If you want to, and overcome their fears, right? It doesn't sound fun, but that is how you build the trait, right? If you want someone who's grateful, then they need to be in a place where they can see gratitude in everything, in all situations. Okay, so if you think about some of your best traits, it's only because you've gone through all the difficulty that you have these traits. So the lows help you transcend to the highs. I rarely see just a patient person appear, right? If you're anything like my younger children, they're like, I want this, I want that, I want this right now, mommy. You just got me ice cream, now I want this. So patience is something that takes a while to build, okay? All right, so Deb writes, to listen to herself, to trust that she'll come out of this with more reason. Yes, and to recognize when you're not being true to yourself, not being in alignment with the version of you that wants to be, right? I talk about this a lot with patients, and let's say when we're discussing diet and food choices, like, is this meal or what you're eating, is this in alignment with the version of you want to be, right? Because the food that you're eating are going to be the building blocks that make up your body composition. So if you're eating, let's say McDonald's cheeseburgers, then those are the fuel building blocks that your body's going to use. Let's call it against like a green salad, which innately we know if we were the best version of ourselves, would know which one we would choose in the moment. However, when we're not consciously thinking about it, you might just be putting the hamburger into your mouth, right? Without even knowing it. So before you eat, the question is this meal nourishing me? Is this bringing me closer in alignment to the version of me that I want to become? Yes. And Melissa says, it's okay to fail. Yeah, you did your best. On to the next challenge, right? And you learned from it. So of course it's okay to build. Yeah, and it's time for something to build or to new, right? Or it's a detour, or not even a detour, it's just the next chapter. Yeah, to reach out for help. Yes. So often the lesson is we might need more help than we think we do. Right? Pregnancy taught Deb patience. Oh yes, that is one that definitely teaches patience. You can't achieve anything if you don't try, right? Absolutely. You negate that high and the low, right? And then we get that flat line, which we don't like. I definitely don't want to see that. Not for any of you, right? Okay. Any questions about reframing failure? About any of the stuff that we just did? Give you a couple minutes. So for those that were hopping in late, what we've been talking about is reframing failure as a lesson, right? And also the only reason that we see things as a high and a low, or that the highs are better than the lows, is because we perceive them to be, or we were taught by everybody else that that is the rule, when in fact, they're just as equally powerful. All right. Okay, I don't see any questions. Okay, so we're going to go into a meditation. All right, so if you want to turn off, okay, before we do that, what do you do when you feel like you're in a constant failure? All right, good question. You look for little steps at a time, okay? For those of you who aren't little wins, right? Aren't familiar with our office, our physical location in the office, we work with a lot of people with chronic long-term illness, like Lyme disease, like chronic Lyme disease, and people with just all sorts of mold illness, all the things. So someone that might see us might not even be able to get out of bed. Okay, that is not uncommon. And so we have to set up little wins. Okay, if we say exercise, it might even be just moving your fingers, moving your legs in bed, right? But you set yourself up so that you can win. If somebody's just starting working out, we might say, okay, start with a wall push-up, just one, or one half squat. That's it. Just aim to do one, so that when they do the one, you can do more if you like once you're there. But make it so that you, and write that down, write your wins down. Oh, I said I would do this and I did this. And eventually over time, if you look back at like a book with your whole entire life of all the things you've accomplished, you go, wow, right? I made it here. Oh my goodness, look what I've overcome to be here. It's just, I think we get temporary amnesia when we're in our lows and we're like, nothing works. And all what we do is we stack every one of the negative experiences, negative emotions, all that we've stored in our nervous system, one on top of the other. So you're not reacting to the actual present situation. You're reacting to the trigger that you had from a long time ago, right? And it could be a simple trigger. Like let's say you're in, 5 years old and your teacher told you that you're never going to learn how to read or something, and it's not true, but you just hear, oh, I'm not a good reader, never going to learn how to read. And then you bring that through your whole lifetime. So later on, you make one mistake in one word, or you mispronounce something and you're like, see, that I knew I was never going to know how to read, even though you don't remember what had been said to you like 40 years ago, right? So I don't ever think somebody is in a constant failure. It might feel that way, that it might be your perception, but your heart is still beating, right? I assume because you're here. So that's a success, right? Your lungs are breathing, that's a success. So look at the opportunities for success. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so if you want to turn off your camera, you can, but you're welcome to stay on because everyone's gonna close their eyes anyway, so they're not gonna look at you. All right, put all your stuff down. Yes, lots of positives around us everywhere. Okay, and we're gonna collectively take 3 breaths. So first, you're just gonna breathe all your air out through the mouth, and then you're gonna take a deep inhale and exhale. Inhale through the nose. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. Good. And just continue to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And I just want you to picture yourself walking in the woods on a nice sunny day. You can maybe see maybe you're following a path. And as you're walking, you come to a clearing in a field. You can feel the sun on you, light breeze, perfect temperature. You can hear the animals around you, the birds. That favorite type of day. And as you're walking up ahead, you come to a little cottage. And you walk to the front door. And you notice that your name is written on the door. As you go in, you open the door. It's warm, it's inviting. The smells are familiar. And up ahead, you see somebody sitting on a rocking chair. And there's a chair across from them. Very familiar place that you're in. And as you sit down in the chair, you see that you're seated in front of yourself at the age of 80, 85 years old. And this person, your future self, has something to say to you today. I just want you to listen and hear them speak. Just take a couple deep breaths in here. Good. And when when she's finished or he's finished talking, I'm gonna say goodbye and turn around and come back out the door. Take one last look at the house, the cottage that you see. And then come back to the clearing on that beautiful sunny day where the breeze is there blowing nicely. See the flowers, the animals. And then you're going to slowly come back to your body. Come back to the now. I'm going to take another 3 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. In through the nose again, and out through the mouth. And then in through the nose, and out through the mouth. Good. And when you're ready, just wiggle your toes. Come back to today. Come back to the room. Is there anyone that would like to share your experience? And I invite you, if you would like to take yourself off mute, to do that. Or you can write in the chat, whatever your heart desires. Again, take your time to come back. What was your experience? Melissa needs a nap, so she's beyond calm. Lovely. Go ahead, Deb. You had your hand up, Deb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she was just so beautiful and wise. And it was like a beautiful mother saying, you have been through so much. You have done so well. You are doing well. Sing, share, just do it. She was just strong and loving and almost like you would want our parents to be when we're growing up. Just do it. Just keep doing it. Yeah. And acknowledge what you've already done and just do it. So it was really lovely to see me, and hear from her, me. Thank you. Her, me. Yeah, me, her. So thank you for that. Yeah, I'm going to mute myself now. Bye.
Perfect. Bye. Thank you so much for sharing, Deb. It is you and me and her and all of it, right? And what we're tapping into is that identity, that future self that already knows what to do. And we just need some guidance from there as to what our next step is. Right? Awesome. So if no one else has any more questions, I'm going to tell you about our next complimentary workshop. We're not going to have one in August because it's our summer holidays. And we're going to meet again in September. So let me just find the next, I'm going to drop the link in the chat in just a second for anyone who wants to register. And so this is super duper fun. I'm really excited because I came up with this last week. It is a mystery workshop. I'm not telling you anything about it. Isn't that fun? So I will tell you why it's a mystery workshop though. So in the workshop that I'm doing in September, the dates are written there and you'll get, I'll pester you with a couple emails around there for the link. But all I ask is for you to show up. That's all you need to do, right? Because often in life, we're asked to take this leap of faith, right? People are like, okay, how do you take the leap of faith? Well, you just show up. You say yes and you jump, and then you're rewarded. So often in life, you step first and then the universe follows. Okay? And so that's why this is a mystery. It is a leap of faith, and you show up and we see what's there, what's in the space. And it's about saying yes to opportunities, saying yes to yourself. And I mean, there's no charge for it. So it is easier to show up for it. But it is fun because we get to see the different stories and beliefs we have when we don't know what's coming, right? And so that's why it's a mystery workshop. So the link is in the chat right now, but I'm also going to send it to you because this is being recorded, as you know. We have a few people online, which is awesome. We have another like 40 watching at home. So you can watch it at your leisure, do the meditation. If this is the first time that you're meditating and you're like, this person isn't talking to me, I have no idea what's going on, do it a few times. All right. Okay. So I will see you all oh, thank you. I will see you all in September. It's so good to see you. Bye.